Good evening folks, welcome back for another 4am and also happy 2017. I hope you all had a great new year. I did. So we are going to carry on with our nodes, node editors, and we're looking at the geometry node today. Okay, so just gonna obviously open up my few little things I need, but so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that, which is 7. I'm going to add in a plane. That's the extras to do, and I'm just doing this just so we can see basically a few variations. Very hard to nodes to actually get me head around, to be honest, but with a lot of research on it and looking at it, I finally got it. So hopefully, well, I've got a few of them anyway, because this node actually has quite a few different outputs. There is no inputs on it at all. They are all outputs, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 outputs on it. Okay, so oops, where have I gone to now? Okay, right, so we have our 5 planes here. So as always, first thing to do, switch across into a cycles render, and let's add ourselves a default material to all 5 objects. So let's just move that out of the way so we get a better view. New, and let's go into node editor. Okay, so there's our standard material, and we are going to view this in the rendered view, just so you can see. There's our 5 shapes. Now obviously at this end this is where the light is, so it affects this end more. Okay, so before we go any further, let me just get on my screen displays, and we're going to add in our geometry. So as you can see, no inputs at all, but a lot of outputs. And again, as you just seen, you can just hide it away, as you can do with every node once it's connected. Okay, so the geometry node. The geometry node gives a geometric information about the current shading point. All vector coordinates are in world space. For volume shaders, only the position and incoming vector are available. So it has no properties. I'm over here, and oops, sorry, no properties there, and no inputs at all from the left hand side. All its points are on the right, which means they're all outputs. Okay, so we're not going to do a lot with this. I'm just going to basically, we're going to put it into colour so that we can see exactly what happens with it. So using a few resources, we're going to go through position first, straight into colour, and it changes how it looks. Now position is the position of the shading point. It locates a shading point basically of, because with the cycles render it's all about how the light reflects and reacts on your material to get the best look out of it. So we've got position, and it's useful for texturing multiple objects uniquely. So if you were to unwrap these and use a texture on it, basically they're all going to look pretty similar. So if I just take that out and we add in, is it, nope, it's not that one. Where's it gone to? Is it vector? Nope. I did have this before and now I can't remember whereabouts it's gone. Wasn't it shader? There we go. Brick texture. Okay. So we're going to plug in from our colour into our colour. So these all have a brick texture. Now standardly they all look pretty much the same as they would do if you were to put a texture into it. Now with position it's useful, as I say, for texturing multiple objects uniquely. Reason being is that if I now switch this into vector, it then makes them slightly more unique from each other. Now if I was to put that into there, you can see it changes them quite a lot. Looking at, like, I think this would be the weight colour. I assume, you know, it does change them quite a lot. Okay, so again, if we take this out and we focus on the actual the point of the shading into normal, I believe. Now we go into top view. So if you can see, the light actually bounces around pretty much the whole thing. So if I can change this down to, just trying to find a good colour to see it react. Okay, let's come over here. Let's grab that along the X. Okay, so as you can see, the light's in the middle, so obviously the middle one gets the most of it, but the light still bounces out quite far here. Now with position, it's the position of the shading point and it kind of locates a bit better with the shading. So if I now use that into normal, is it normal? Let me just try it again a second. It now, yeah, it now kind of slows down, not slows down, but limits the shading on it. You see there, without it. So that's, I mean, that's what I get from position. And if you don't know how to do this, by the way, it's press Control and left mouse click straight down, and you cut that out the way. So then next you have normal, and that adds an effect dependent on location and direction of your normals. So if we go into here, and I assume that we can do this in cycles. Maybe not. Okay, so I can't do it in cycles. Nope. Okay, there used to be a way where you can actually point which way the... Oh yeah, I did it actually, didn't I? Didn't realise that. So you can see all the normals there pointing up. Now if I use normal straight into normals, nothing much happens. Put it into colour. Okay, now the normals are all facing up, so it reacts to which way the normals are actually facing, and then underneath there's nothing. So if I now rotate that around the X, oops, around the Y. Why is it only letting me do, because I'm in edit mode, that's why. Hang on, let's get out of there. Okay. Click on the Y. You should see it reflects different colours dependent on the variation of your normals. So a brief description of that. This is obviously through a very trusted person of Blender, is Blender Guru, and he says that the normal selection is useful for adding certain effects where the surface is pointing upwards. So I mean, by Blender they've put shading normal at the surface includes smooth normals and bump mapping. That doesn't give me a lot of information. So again, you know, it's going to be, we have to go off what we know basically. Okay, so let's get rid of that one. Then we have tangent, and we have tangent on the surface. Now let's see how that will use. Okay, so a few people are saying this is a bit of a mystery to them of the tangent. Now, to me, that looks a bit similar to position, to be honest. React's pretty similar. We put it into colour so that we can actually see what's affecting, to be honest. That's the only reason. Okay, so how about into roughness? We see how that affects normals. No. So tangent is tangent at the surface. Now there is another node called tangents. And what I can do is, if we just add in, where is it gone again? Our brick texture, add it into there, put our colour into there, factor into roughness, and if we use our tangents into vector, okay, so that's kind of all just following straight direct to the origin of it, and then into colour 1, colour 2, mortar. Okay, so it's quite useful to actually keep hold of that just for testing this out. Next we have true normal, which is geometry or flat normal of the surface. It's the same as the normal socket node, but if the object is smooth shaded, it ignores that and gives you the normal of a flat shaded geometry. Okay, so again, this is just looking at different research on different people and to see what they've got basically. Now if let's use our true normal into our colour and let's see how that affects. So blue, yeah, exactly the same as that's exactly what I thought it would do. Now how about if I delete that and I add in a UV sphere. Let's add that one there, and then let's add in, actually we'll keep that there and we'll see how this reacts, okay? Because it's going to react differently with a sphere. As far as I'm aware, it's going to act differently. So if we now new, actually could you just use, yeah, we'll just use that there. Okay, so that's how it's reacting with the sphere normals unshaded. Now, smoothing it. Smooth, flat. Doesn't act much different in my opinion, but as I say, that's a bit of a grey area. It's quite a lot of people. Okay, so then we have incoming. In fact, let's just so we can get have a look at what everything's going to be like basically. Yeah, it's not affecting much at all, that is it? No. Okay. And people will say there's the rule of thumb of purple has to go into purple and this and that, but if you don't try it in different things, then how are you going to learn? So true normal into vector. Okay, that gives it a little bit more of a difference. So let's just change that to there. Change that over there. Okay, and roughness. So that's just the true normal, and I mean that's not really, it doesn't give a lot of information, to be honest, but yeah, that's Blender for you sometimes, and you have to figure it out. So then next we have incoming, which is the vector pointing towards the point the shading point is being viewed from. And if we have a look, again, looking at a few references, you probably won't be using this unless you're doing some crazy vector math. It's meant to be used in combination with other things to create custom effects. Okay. So, if it's going to do some crazy stuff, then why not try it? Colour, factor, incoming. Okay, that's quite funky. Why not? And if you try that with position on it, okay. And yeah, that's it's not going to be something that you use, so I'm just going to skip over that one really, because it doesn't really seem much use, to be honest. Okay, so if we go through now, we're with parametric coordinates at the shading point on a surface. So parametric, let's go through to normal. And okay, so that's showing each like shade point of the vectors, and its use. Let's have a look. So it's another one that you probably won't use very often unless you're trying to make an unusual wireframe effect, although we now have a specific node for that. So again, it's one of those, it's there, you're not going to really use it, but let's just have a little play. Let's throw it there and let's see what it does. Take that out of there into the vector. Okay, that's it. That actually takes pretty much all of it away. That's not what I expected. Put that into there. That's quite funky. That's like the geometry is completely changed on it to all triangulate. Okay, let's cut that one out. So we then have back facing. Okay, now back facing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back into having a mesh. Scale that up a little bit. So back facing, add our material. Back facing 1.0 if the face is being viewed from the back side, or 0.0 for the front side. So it's useful for changing the material on one side. Okay. So let's try back facing into colour. So if we do the front from the top, and if we do from the bottom, so basically it's like the back of the object is what's going to be affected essentially. Just turn on that roughness a little bit, so you can see one side's going to be black, the other side isn't. So that's why he says, you know, it'd be useful to use that for different colours on each side. If you do it that way though, that doesn't affect it at all. Into normal, no. Okay, so that's going to have to be onto, and you know, I'm just using this bit of effect just to have a little play around it and see what happens. See how it affects. So there we go, we've got pure yellow on that side, and we've actually got basically a texture on this side. So that's quite cool. So that's what that's going to be useful for, is getting different material, different textures on one product, one object on each side. So let's say you've got a flat wall for a house, you could then have the brick on the outside and then the inside of it, rather than having like two sides. Just use the one thing and project an image for both sides. I don't see why that wouldn't work. Okay, and then the last one, in fact, you know what, we'll just leave this here, and we have pointiness. So let's try that in there. Okay, and I'm going to have to probably change that now and add in something with a lot of points. So let's add in that. And okay, let's give it our material, render it. Okay, let's just get rid of that a minute, and pointiness into there. Okay. Let's make something happen here. So pointiness, an approximation of the curvature of a mesh per vertex. Lighter values indicate convex angles. Darker values indicate concave angles. Okay, let's get rid of that, and let's add in a cube. So it's useful for instant dirt and scratch maps, and it's a fairly recent addition to Cycles. This basically gives you the curvature of the surface. It returns white for the sharp convex parts, grey for flat surfaces. Okay, again that's just using a little reference. So if we now go into edit mode, so nope, add a modifier and let's subdivide it. Okay. Bring that across to there. Let's bring that up. Let's bring that down. And how about if we mark it as sharp? Mark sharp. Mark sharp. And then if we go into our material and use our material on it, white. Okay, let's try and use our brick texture in here again then. Let's use that in there. Let's delete that. We're meant to be seeing something on this. So, oops. Let's add in sphere, and let's go into face mode, select all of that, and then let's extrude it out, and extrude it out. That looks very wrong. But I'm not seeing any difference on it. So it's actually meant to mark out basically the sharp parts. So maybe if we go into vertex, nope, weight paint, and we mark out the sharp objects. This is looking very wrong, this whole thing. To there, okay. It's not doing much there, but it marks them out in white, basically where it's going to be sharp. So that will be that for now, folks, and hopefully we catch up again soon. I'll be doing a lot more on our nodes, and the next node that we do will be hair info. So thanks very much, and we shall see you again soon. Ta-da.